Hello everyone and welcome to another video. And we recently, actually yesterday, received an update in GT7 regarding, amongst the other things, is car behavior. One of the most interesting things out there, and I've been asked quite a lot of times, so how the car actually feels like now. Is it any different? Can you like modify your throttle inputs a little bit better? Is your braking distance a little bit longer, or is it actually making a lot of difference in your driving style? So I just decided to make a video on that. So without further ado, let's get going. And first I have to say that I used the circuit experience guide for this one. So you can see on the left before, and of course on the right hand side you can see the after of the update. So one of the most interesting things that I found is that you can actually modify, or you can actually put the throttle down a lot faster. So for example here, even the braking point was slightly later. Of course, I broke slightly later because it was my best time on the right hand side, but on the left I didn't really do that good. But you can see the throttle movement, so I had much more confidence to put the throttle down earlier. As on the left hand side, that wasn't really the case. I was really struggling to put the power down, and every time I was like hitting the throttle, I was expecting that the car might snap. But on the right, or after the update, you can see that I'm very early on the power. I'm not very cautious about how I put down the power, or if I made a little adjustment here and there, it's not a big deal. So we can easily readjust it later, or just make a small correction, and everything's gonna be good. But before the update, the car was really unstable in, let's say, second gear or even third gear. But this is not really the case here. So in this corner, it was a pretty fast corner, although the car was kind of slidey on the way out. On left or the right, it didn't really see that much effect. So from my perspective, if the car is going relatively quick, you don't have to make a lot of adjustments, or the car performance or car behavior is kind of the same. But when we're going in slow corners like this one, you can actually see I'm moving down in second, and right at this point, just have a look at how much more confidence I have to put the power down on the right. So I was early, very early up, and I was in second gear rather than third. And the difference is pretty significant, 5 kilometers per hour. So the real difference here is that I'm exiting here on the left in third, rather than after the update in second gear. So this just gives me a much more confidence, because in second gear the car would probably slide before the update. And just making those little things, those little adjustments make so much difference. And even here you can see I tapped the curve on both sides, but I had a little snap on the left only. So I touched the curb in both situations, but right before the update you couldn't really hold the car that much, and when it was really snappy in that third gear, and I almost lost it. And you can see a pretty huge difference, almost like it's a completely changed driving model. Not that much, but I would say like in those really important areas it means a lot, especially here, slow corners, where you actually need a lot of grip. So for example there, third gear, I was flat out and way earlier out. So the gap here is like a second and a half. So this is pretty huge regarding the times that I've set on the Nordschleife. Although it's a pretty long lap, it requires a lot of practice and a lot of patience to complete this one. Although I haven't really seen that much performance boost or change in any or other situations in fast corners, I can clearly see some in middle to slow range corners. So you can see before the update I was sliding all around the place. Only if my car was straight and up I couldn't really see any difference. But even when exiting this carousel, just have a look at how much more confidence I have to put the power down. And the car isn't really sliding. It's really not sliding at all. I caught the curb there on the left, but I had to correct the car so much, and I lost about 10 kilometers per hour, which in terms of racing is huge. It's absolutely huge. But you can also see that I'm exiting the corners is kind of the same ways. I tried to replicate my driving style as much as I could, but it just couldn't really put the throttle down as early as I could after the update. Although please notice that I tried to replicate the lines, and I tried to do the lap in almost the same way, but there are always going to be differences on the Nordschleife. But I can clearly say that on the right hand side or after the update you have way more traction than before the update. Slow corners, mid-speed corners, lower gears, and you know, actually the points where you got a lot of torque they are so much different. So I tried using this GTR, one of the maybe best cars in the game regarding, you know, the whole history that this car has, but I tried it really pushing it to the limit, like exiting the car with the car in second gear rather than third, exiting in slower gears, faster gears. I tried everything, but I just couldn't get this car to slide. It was unbelievably hard to get this car to slide. So here I'm down in first. I tried putting down the power in second gear. I kind of straightened up the car because I thought this was going to slide, but here I'm still turning the wheel and I'm putting the throttle down. Most of the times with most of the cars you would slide, especially before the update. The car would definitely slide and you would lose that traction. So it's almost like you're trying to drift, but the car doesn't allow you. So I'm very careful, and I'm very curious how in the future this will mod up develop. And also one of the best things about this one, and I think it's gonna become much more convenient for regular casual players to race with this model rather than with the previous one. So just let me know in the comments what you think about this one. So if you're gonna change, if you would like to change something, or if you actually like the model. But here I'm trying to demonstrate all of the things that I found that were kind of useful, and just the differences before here and there. Every time I got on the track, I was very scared that the car might slide. I didn't have too much experience with some cars, but now, from what I can see, is there is gonna be a little bit of a gap when you try to get into the higher rated lobbies, and of course the A to A plus rated lobbies with still faster drivers. So there is still gonna be a gap, but the gap is gonna shrink, in my opinion. So the best way to demonstrate one of the hardest tracks that I came across in this game was the Jaguar circuit experience on Dragon Trail Seaside. And I tried to do my best to slide this car, and I actually succeeded in that. So the model is still there. You can actually slide with the car and you can make it lose control. But I decided, okay, let's try to see the limits of this car and maybe try to set the better lap than I did actually before the update. So it was 138.225, and I'll just try to do better than that. So you can see even in this corner I was petrified. I was really terrible in putting the throttle down in second gear, so I was always upshifting and trying to not to spin the car. But here, second gear, straight up, no problems at all. Here, I made a little mistake going here in this right-hander. It wasn't really much of a problem. I just used a different line. I used the inside of the curb, which is not really a thing now in GT7. In GT Sport, you had to use the inside of the curb if you wanted to get a good lap time. That was it. That was one of the most important things that you should have done. Otherwise, your lap would be ruined. And also here, in the lap before the update, I tried to put the power down in second gear. I couldn't do that. I was always up in third. And also the car is, it's a little bit more understeery than usual. So whenever you hit the brakes, I think you have more room to make a mistake. But also, if you stay on the power a little bit, like 20-30%, the car will just understeer a lot. And you have to really use the most out of the car and just really get used to this new physics model. Otherwise, you're just going to be a little bit slower than before. But either way, I would really like to thank you for watching my videos and, making mistakes as I am making mistakes. But in general, thank you very much, guys, for watching this video. And, you might even want to hit that like button. Bye.